Hi everyone, I'm Gary Null. I'd like to welcome you to this program. Today, no guest. We've been having some remarkable minds on during the last 10 programs. They join nearly 70 other remarkable minds for a continuation of this series. All of those remarkable minds will be in one archive on Progressive Radio Network for your enjoyment and downloading. Today, instead, I'm going to focus on the latest in health and healing. I'm setting time aside to talk about why you should know that the CDC and the FDA have been lying to you, that these vaccines are not safe and effective, and I will give the evidence for that. And also, when you try to turn off a fever, you better be aware of what's actually going on in your body. They haven't told you what goes on in the body that you would want to kill a fever, and I'm suggesting before you kill that fever, at least understand why you have the fever. Also today, some exclusive information that you haven't heard before on how the World Health Organization admits no deadly mutations of the H1N1 swine flu have been found. Well, where's the pandemic? Where's the epidemic? Where's the crisis? Where is any of this going on that justifies them mandating in New York State, and this is just the beginning, it'll go to every state, that all the 500,000 people working in the healthcare system should get the vaccine or be fired. What does this mean for you? What if you've had a vaccine? What if your children have vaccines and you want to detoxify from those vaccines' consequences? What can you do? I have a lot to share today, so you're not going to want to leave. Also, the American media virtually gave zero attention to what actually happened in the streets of the G20 summit last week in Pittsburgh. I'll show you what went on and how we have become a military state when it comes to these issues. The U.S. creeps closer to a police state by Seamus Cook. And also, the latest on the environment, we're still buying these gas-guzzling cars, but there are some positive signs that many Americans are leaning towards green transport. Because I've chosen not to have any guests during our next 2 hours, I'm going to be opening up our lines for you to call in and share your thoughts and questions on the issues of the day. Our number is 888-873-4643. Now, I realize outside the United States or Canada, and by the way, we have a lot of listeners in Canada. It's our second largest group of listeners. But elsewhere, they can't call in. But in the United States, you can call toll-free, and in Canada, 888-873-4643. Everywhere else, you can email us. Now, before the show is over, I'm going to get the information on exactly how you can email. Our tech is going to give that to me, and I'll pass it on to you. I'm broadcasting live from our studio in New York City. If you'd like to watch today's show, go to GaryNull.com or ProgressiveRadioNetwork.com. Either way, you'll be able to watch here in the studio as people come in and out, and we talk, and as I address your issues. All right, that's our show for the next 2 hours, and at the end of this hour, a lot of the land-based stations will be signing off, but you can continue watching and listening by going to ProgressiveRadioNetwork.com or GaryNull.com. Now, very important, how many times have you heard someone say, I have a fever, I got to get my fever down? Well, indeed, there are cases where your fever gets so high, you have to get it down because it could be life-threatening for you or your child or baby if you didn't. But under most circumstances, an elevated fever should not be looked upon in the way we have. Let me just share something from naturalnews.com. I got it from Life Extension. And by the way, Life Extension is publishing a book on our death by medicine, and I'll give you more information on that. We have just updated all of our figures on that, and it's still current. This is from Paul Fazer, and it says the following. I'll quote this. Have you been influenced by modern allopathic medicine's obsession with lowering fever? Has this been a concern of yours? Ever since the turn of the 20th century, using drugs to lower fevers has been standard operating procedure for almost all of allopathic medicine. Take 2 aspirins and call me in the morning was a common medical gag throughout the 1950s. Well, aspirin-type medications may be needed for pain reduction, but when it comes to reducing fever from influenza of any type, taking an over-the-counter drug to reduce fever is not, in this author's opinion, the way to go. Suppressing fevers can increase rapid viral replication, resulting in a berserk effort by an overwhelmed immune system to fight back. This is known as cytokine storm, which can have disastrous results. Now here's the issue. What actually is happening in the body when you have a fever? It's a little technical, so I ask you to bear with me here. According to the former NASA scientist and researcher and editor Marshall Smith, he says in an article entitled The Tamiflu Myth that, quote, the body causes a fever above 101 degrees, which stops the telomeres on the ends of the virus from allowing any viral replication, unquote. And by the way, you've heard me mention many times on this program, telomeres are chromosome caps to keep chromosome threads from randomly sticking together. So let's say that I have a hot dog or a glass of alcohol, a beer, or I eat some French fries, or pizza, or have some sugar, or soft drink. All of those will do one thing. They will cause a reaction in the body called glycation. And that glycation will actually speed up the division of cells, the chromosomes. That, based upon biological clock, meaning you only have so many times a cell's going to change over. It might be 50, it might be 75, it might be 100, depending upon the cell in the body. But there's a finite amount of changes. And when that happens, and you finally reach the final end stage, apoptosis, and the cells can no longer divide, then you have programmed cell death. The clock ticks out. The last grain of sand ends, and that cell dies. Now, if that is an essential cell, heart cell, brain cell, lung cell, kidney cell, liver cell, then you die. So we don't die all at once and at the same rate in the body. And that's why I've been telling people, in fact, there was one athlete, and this really became dramatic at one point. I was running around, I'll get back to my commentary in a moment, I was running around the reservoir a lot to do my training in the morning. And there was a fellow that was running all the time out there, and we were running about the same pace, about a 6-minute pace. And he would run the same distance every single day. He would run 13 miles, a half marathon, every day, 7 days a week. I never knew him not to be out there running, and I asked him one day, I said, what are you training for? He said, I'm not training for anything. I said, why are you running 13 miles? He said, well, that's what I run every day, and that keeps me where I want to be. I said, but running 13 miles at 6-minute pace, are you aware that you're actually speeding up your aging process? You're causing oxidative stress. So where your heart will be phenomenal, and your lungs terrific, and your musculature strong, you're actually going to end up prematurely aging your whole body. You're going to end up having a prematurely aged musculature system, because free radicals are going to be increased, and you're not taking antioxidants. He didn't believe any of that. 2 years go by, and then I don't see him anymore. And then one day, walking down Broadway, there he is. His name is Dennis. And I said, I haven't seen you in the reservoir. He said, oh, I can't run anymore. I said, why not? He says, well, I should have listened to you. You were right. They came when my musculature system just gave out. And then when I tried to run again, I couldn't even run a 10-minute mile, let alone a 6, and I couldn't run 13 miles. And he said, my cells are just degenerating. My cartilage is degenerating. I had thinning of the bones. I had all these problems. I didn't know about this. I said, yes. Because every system in the body has a biological clock. So anything you do that speeds up the clock is like speeding up a movie. Let's say you're in your home and you're watching your life on television in normal time. And then you start doing things. You have that cup of coffee, you have the bagel, you have some French fries, you have that cheesecake. Now you just speeded it up. And at some point your life is going to be whizzing by, and you're going to say, slow it down. But what you're doing is causing it to speed up. Hence, you have to compensate. That brings in the whole idea that the more you compensate, the slower the biological clock. So when you take out carnosine, that slows down